welcome back. Today we're going to be making a watercolor thank you card inspired by Japanese patterns. So these days with COVID, we can't travel too much, right? And I've been kind of reminiscent on my previous travels. A few years ago, I went to Japan and I got these different fabrics with different patterns to make something that's called furoshiki, which is the art of wrapping different things, mainly gifts, in kind of this fabric. And I love all the patterns on the fabric. This is one of my favorites. You might have recognized this from multiple different Japanese products. They use this type of pattern a lot. So I'm gonna use this as inspiration for the look and feel of my card. I'm gonna go through my materials first before we start. I'm using Kuretake, Gansai, Tambi watercolors. These are Japanese watercolors. I'm gonna be using a bamboo brush. This brush is used for Japanese and Chinese calligraphy usually, but I'm gonna be using it to paint. I'm gonna be using a porcelain flower palette. I'm gonna be using a Pentel brush pen in black. This is waterproof ink, although you can use either one because we're not going to really make it wet. I'm going to be using some washi tape. I'm going to be using Uni-Ball gold gel impact pen and watercolor paper or watercolor postcards or greeting cards, like blank ones. You can find all kinds of different ones on Amazon or in your favorite like local art store. This particular one is made by Etchr Labs, and it already has kind of in the back the postcard line, so you can write a message, put a stamp, etc. It's 100% cotton, 230 grams cold pressed paper. So I'm going to be using that, but you can use any materials you have. You can use watercolor paper, 140 pound or different weight, and cut it to size. It's up to you. Now, usually I love Japanese things in design because they're so simple and clean and like aesthetically pleasing. So I'm gonna attempt my best. This is all gonna be kind of inspired by the different types of Japanese designs that I've seen. First, I'm going to use my washi tape, which is breaking here, to create a rectangle space on my card. If I can get it to work. Here we go. So I'm gonna make my pattern be a bit offset. So it's not gonna be dead center. Okay, got my rectangle here with washi tape. I'm just running my nail on the edge to make sure that it's stuck down properly and there aren't any air bubbles that would cause the paint to bleed through, or bleed under, I should say, the tape. Okay, so now we have our tape in place. I want to use a really deep, dark type of indigo color for the background. So what I'm going to do is that I'm going to make just a solid indigo blue background, and then I'm going to use the gel pen to draw the little designs on top to kind of make it feel very similar to the design that I have on my fabric swatch there. So I'm just putting some indigo blue from my Gansai Tambi set on my palette, and I'm grabbing some water, just making it wet enough so that I can spread it around the page. And now all we're going to do is we're going to paint that square with the indigo paint. And I love how watercolor paint on cold pressed paper makes texture and just looks very watercolory. So I'm not really looking for this to be a perfectly flat wash. I'm just looking for it to be dark enough and have some character. So I don't want it to be super flat. That's why I'm not kind of doing the proper kind of flat wash technique. I want it to have a little bit of texture in the background. All right, I'm gonna let that dry and we'll come back and do the next step. All right, so now my blue rectangle is completely dry. I'm gonna pull out the tape and we're gonna draw the design on top. There we go. Now we're gonna use the gold pen to try to draw this design on it or something similar. The point is that it looks handmade. So what I found during my practice runs of this is that starting from the bottom makes it a lot easier. And it's really important to get these kind of semicircles the same size. The first line is very important. So I'm going to try to make 4 or 5. Let's see, I'm going to start in the bottom. 1, trying to make them the same size as much as possible. That was okay, but it gives it character. And then you add, so you make these little kind of semicircles, and then the next layer of semicircles will be, the tips will start in the middle of the bottom semicircle. So they'll just stack up, kind of like clouds in a way. So basically you have to keep going on that pattern. So you start your semicircle in the middle and end in the middle of the next one, start in the middle, end in the middle, start in the middle, end in the middle, just like that. And we end right at the edge. You could also do this before taking off the washi tape to avoid going over. Maybe that's something that I should have done. Once you have the whole thing, you will draw the inner lines. So here we kind of start at 1 halfway. So I'm just going to draw 1 line. If you look here, there are 1, 2, 3, 4 lines inside the semicircle. So there's a total of 5, including the outer line. You can draw as many as you can fit in there. I'm going to actually do a dot in the bottom, a dot right here where there's this edge, and then I'm going to do 3 lines inside each semicircle. 1, 2, 3, and a dot. All right, I finished the pattern on this card. It actually, I love the way it looks. It looks so sophisticated. It almost looks like fabric, to be honest, at least from here. The deep indigo, I just love the indigo, and the contrast with the gold is just beautiful. It almost looks like it was printed. So I'm really happy with that, how that turned out. It's actually the first time I used this gold pen by Uni-Ball. It's really great, very opaque gold ink, so very happy with it. If you don't have a gold pen, you don't need to do it with this. You could also use white gel pen or any other colored gel pen that you have that's opaque enough to really stand out against like a dark blue background or whatever the color of the background is that you choose. You can also choose to use different colors. So now that we have the pattern area of the card complete, I'm going to write the thank you message on this side. And you could write any message. You could write congratulations, get well, happy birthday, miss you, anything you want. I'm gonna make it a thank you note. I just think the pattern, the way the pattern is, it just suits a thank you message very well. I'm just gonna write it out in pencil first because I don't want to mess it up since I spent all that time drawing the pattern. It's actually quite simple. I'm just gonna tap the graphite because I don't want it to show up too much, or like just do this. I just wanted to use it as a guide so I don't go off. And I've been thinking of doing it with this Pentel brush pen. It's a pen that has black ink, so I could do it that. But you know what? I'm loving this gold gel pen so much that I'm going to write it on with gold, and I'm going to see how that looks. So I'm just going to write a very simple uppercase block letters. Nothing crazy, so no calligraphy or anything. Anybody can do this. I'm just going to put a little dot to divide the think and the U. And once that ink dries, I will clean out a little bit of the graphite that's there, and that's it. You have a thank you card completed. Very simple. You don't need to know how to draw or really paint. Anybody can do it. And you can write a nice message in the back and send it up. I hope you enjoyed that little tutorial. If you like this, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe. I post videos like this all the time. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you again on my next video. Bye-bye.